key. Oh. All right, I think we're good with our zooms. So, this is a very important scene because it's showing Lauren for the first time, right? And showing that she is very much the inevitability of a small militia war about to break out. And so, in the next scene, I don't know if it's directly the next scene or it'll be a scene a little later afterward, we'll be then introduced to Ash, which is a totally different kind of militia, but still a militia nonetheless. And it'll be a little less organized. She's got her camp running very smoothly. So one thing that's fun to think about is, where does the power come from if she never raises her voice? Any guesses? Where does the power come from, right? This dominance that she's showing. Where does it come from? If she's never raising her voice.
Oh my gosh, it's an interesting power dynamic.
Very interesting power dynamic. Yes, very much so. And it's her. She's showing it through behavior, right? She's showing it through regiment. All of the guards and everything, and the way the camp is organized. It's just that is very much showing her power, because she has a huge influence on just the whole scene itself. She doesn't have to raise her voice. She's just in control of everything. That's why we call her the dominatrix. And I tell you, Lauren is a great role for this. Lauren is a multi-talented actress and playwright from New York City. She's one of the big cats. One of the best connections to have in the industry, I tell you what. And so, again, why is the silence more threatening than violence here? Right? And because it's situational, right? It's totally situational. The silence is more threatening than any kind of violence, because we could do your average torture scene, ripping the guy's toenails off, and he's screaming, and the agony and the horror and everything. No. What we want to do here is a psychological show of her power and her dominance. And that's why the silence actually reaffirms that a lot more than just outright showing some kind of violent scene. And I find too many movies do that. You don't need to. You can show the power without having to get so graphic. So, how does she control, or how does she control, first off, but how does that control of space, right? How does that control of for people and everything in the combat replace action? Is another thing to consider. How does control of that space replace the action? Well, just look at the way she's dressed. Everything she does is very much confidence. It's the confidence. She knows exactly what she's going for, and that confidence puts fear not only into the guards, into everyone that works for her, right, or is under her control, but even the prisoner and everyone else, who knows of her and the locals and everything. That's how, that is, that's very much an action in itself. Is we are showing the surroundings of this controlled environment, rather than, outright. We're trying, again, in this kind of script, we're trying to show that we believe our audiences are intelligent, right? And so we don't need to show, we don't need to show her disciplining and this kind of thing and all that. No. We just give you the basic, bare minimum hints of what's going on, of how she operates, and you know, you're smart enough to realize from those cues, the context, that she's in control. You know, we don't need no Michael Bay, big explosions, you know, torturing, and we don't need any of that. She is very much in control no matter what. So, very interesting, very, very interesting character. And she is very much the yin and yang, at least as far as the militias go. Because this film is very interesting. We have two yin yangs. We have two yin yangs, right? We have the bigger yin yang, which is obviously her and Ash coming to, who are the hostile groups that are causing the war in this otherwise peaceful area, right? And then we have Zack, who comes in and brings the peace, right? So you got the big moral overview, yin and yang. But even between the two militias, we have some yin and yang. Because she is very much more hostile in the sense of it's really personal for her, and she is wanting to dominate without much of a cause. Where later we'll see that Ash, Montoya's militia, is more righteous. They are fighting with their hearts, right? They're fighting with their hearts, she's fighting with her fist. And so there's, you know, between even that power struggle, there is some yin and yang. Because some of the audience will say, well, Ash is kind of the lesser of the two evils here. Anyway, and so we will get to that eventually when we cover the next scene, but we'll have to go back and go back to the scene with Gus. The Gus subversion is what I like to call it, where that is the first character that Zack actually meets, funny enough. So, but very crucial, very crucial. So, anyway, thanks guys for making it to class. You know, I know it's finals week, so everyone's real tired. I've been up for 48 hours, believe it or not, so I get it. I'm exhausted too. I mean, here I am drinking a Dr. Pepper. You know, I try to stay as professional as I can, folks, but I am tired too, so I'm in it with you. I'm in it with you. We are in a war zone of our own because of, you know, because of finals, you know. I was just saying how finals is kind of like a war zone, right?
Right.
Right? You know, and so that's what I was just telling everybody. Everyone's tired, we've made it far, but I thank you to you as well for coming to the class. It was, it's been tough in between because a lot of classrooms are taken and I'm kind of behind in some of the material because I had gotten sick and we just had missed a couple days, but nevertheless, we have more coming. And this was our next scene that we wanted to cover for Vietnam Dong. Oh my goodness. So there we go. Without further ado, guys, I will close this and we will continue later. But I leave you with Lauren Lee, Dominatrix.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, I'm going to shut everything off here. Make sure our Zoomers are still live with us. Oh, okay.